Welcome, Realm family, to another episode of Wrestling with the Realm podcast. I'm Brian. I'm one half of the Power and Glory of Wrestling podcast. And on the other side, he's the Hercules to my Paul Roma. It's my guy, Will. Will, what are we talking about?
Guys, we're talking about the Elimination Chamber, one of the best pay-per-views I've seen top to bottom in a long time. You guys will probably get to the end of this and be wondering, hey, why aren't they talking about the biggest segment in the last 10 so years? It's because we have dedicated our own episode to it, talking about the John Cena heel turn after the Elimination Chamber match. So go check out that separate video, because if we put those two together, we would be here for a pretty long time. And it gives you guys two more digestible videos that are a little shorter. So but this was a great pay-per-view, top to bottom. So, Brian, get us started on what kicked us off, the Women's Elimination Chamber match.
Women's Elimination Chamber match. You have Liv Morgan, Alexa Bliss, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Roxanne Perez, and Bayley. Liv Morgan comes out. Whoa, oh, look at me. I said Liv Morgan comes out on top on this. What was that wishful thinking? Oh, there she is, right there. It's the greatest women's tag team champion of all time, right there, Liv Morgan. Bianca Belair is your winner. Before we even get to that, anybody who took a look at our retro rewatch with WrestleMania 6 knows how we were covering the commentary on that. I'm giving a huge shout out to Pat McAfee, Wade Barrett, and Michael Cole. They were great. This show, they were really, really good, and it made me so happy, especially because we've been focusing on the commentary so much in that podcast. I was really paying attention on that pay-per-view at WrestleMania 6, talking about Jesse Ventura. I think you even made the comparison that Wade Barrett might be the closest thing that we have to that type of a heel commentator.
Yeah.
These guys were awesome tonight. Mm-hmm. So hats off to the commentary. You guys were great. So the Women's Chamber, we have Bianca Belair. She goes over. She wins. She's going to be facing either Rhea Ripley or Io Sky at WrestleMania, because somehow Io Sky gets a championship match without having to win the Elimination Chamber. But it's wrestling, so don't think too hard. Big news in this one is, before we even get started, we have Liv and Naomi are going to be the first two in the ring. Before the match even gets started, Jade Cargill makes her return, and this is played perfect for a story that has been a relatively long-term storytelling. I like how they brought Liv Morgan into that story recently with her and Raquel Rodriguez, that they could be the suspects. Jade Cargill makes her way to the ring. Liv Morgan is doing a phenomenal job of selling it that she believes Jade Cargill's coming for her, and she does a great job with that. Even the commentary, again, they're all convinced that she's got to be going after Liv, because she's the only suspect that really seems to be somebody who could have done this, even though the worst mystery that they've been doing is clearly we know it's Naomi. Jade Cargill goes right at Naomi and gives her a beat down. She closes her head in the chamber door. Naomi has to be carted out. So already we're down one superstar in this one, and it really gets things started off with a bang. I love that Bianca Belair is trapped in her cubby and is really selling it that she's distraught. Here's the thing, we don't know, what is she distraught over? The fact that Naomi took out Jade Cargill, or is she distraught because Naomi is getting a beat down because of Jade Cargill? I personally think all roads are leading to Bianca Belair turning heel. The one thing that I can say for this part of the Women's Chamber is Jade Cargill looked good when she came out. Her work was good in the ring. She sold it. She had intensity and it looked great. And it gets me really excited that hopefully this storyline can really get back on the track and we can move forward. Because if Jade Cargill can be somebody who can bring that kind of intensity, this could be another super fun mid card storyline going forward. What do you got for this, Will?
Well, I want to agree with you on that. I think that they're kind of with the singles work with Jade, they're gonna slow roller, and that's not a match with Bianca Belair because that's main event worthy.
Right.
You can wait on that, and maybe that's with Bianca being champion around SummerSlam time. Who knows? Jade is at her best when she is in these short bursts of energy. How you can get that in a singles match, it's going to be a little bit tougher. Luckily, she's working with Naomi. I think this is going to be a great mid card feud without a championship. We need more of those in the women's divisions leading up to these big pay per views.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I thought Roxanne Perez was good in this match.
Thank you. I got that written down too.
Weirdly enough, her and Bailey didn't interact a whole lot.
No.
I thought that match was heading for WrestleMania with no Elimination Chamber interaction. Maybe a SmackDown match, unfortunately. You got so spoiler in the men's match. Priest picks up a roll up on Drew McIntyre because he's too focused on John Cena. That's how you build a feud in an Elimination Chamber match. And they should have done more of that here outside of Naomi and Jade. Like I thought Roxanne and Bailey, one of them could at least have like eliminated each other. None of that. So that was a little bit disappointing, but that's really my only disappointing note on this match. Alexa Bliss looked great in the
Mm-hmm.
ring for her first like kind of match back. Um she is kind of just got quick flurries of offense too. Like kind of like not similar to like how Jade does it, because Jade's just vicious when she does it.
Yeah.
But Alexa Bliss will hit a Hurricane Rana and then turn around, Insaguri kick to someone. And she's just really smart in the way that she works, especially now more than ever as she's getting older. So I thought she worked smart and she looked good in the ring, which is always good to see when someone's coming back. I thought they could have filled the Naomi spot though. They've done it in
Oh,
years
you think they could
past.
have done that and they could have brought somebody else out?
Yeah, I thought they could have brought out Becky Lynch.
Oh, that would have been an interesting turn.
So she doesn't
Yeah,
have to
she's been
win.
conspicuously absent from these things. That's
Yeah,
true.
man. I was disappointed. I was like, it was the perfect match to bring back Becky. Liv was sitting in there. That was her last match, was
Yeah.
against Liv Morgan at hold on, I'm gonna get there. It was one of those Saudi Arabian events. King and Queen of the Ring.
Yes.
And um I don't know. It was kind of disappointing to not have Becky back, and I thought they could have done a little bit more there. But I feel like outside of that, the work rate in this match from Bianca, the hair whip on Liv Morgan,
Oh,
come on now. If you don't have Liv Morgan as your Elimination Chamber MVP, I know Brian's a big Liv Morgan fan, and I'm a little bit more critical at times. Not anymore, man. She is the MVP of the women's division, and she doesn't need the main title to do it. You
I'm
put Liv Morgan in the ring with anyone, she makes them look good, and she looks good doing it.
I'm
Like,
so glad that you said that, Will. That
yeah.
makes me so happy that you're saying that.
Well, look at the match on Monday. Like, it's I don't have anything out for any of these wrestlers. If Lara Valkyria wanted to go and put on a 5-star match, I would be the
Yeah.
first one to come on here and give her praises. Liv
Yeah.
Morgan, Monday, night on Raw, winning the tag belts. Dude, that was my match of the year until a match that happens later on this card.
Yeah.
That match was so good between her, Naomi, Bianca, and Raquel. Like that was Raquel's best work too, but it was Liv's. And then Liv follows it up with her best work in this match. And half of it was selling.
Yeah.
She sells so well for Alexa Bliss and Bianca in this match. And then for her to pick up the roll up on Alexa Bliss, that might be her WrestleMania feud. Who knows? Dude, great performance.
I like so the first note that I have for the Elimination Chamber review is Liv Morgan is my MVP of this Elimination Chamber. And
Hmm?
well, I got to sport the shirt. So that's a crazy thing to say because of what we know what happens on this. But I'm talking about strictly of when I'm watching this Elimination Chamber. This women's Elimination Chamber was super entertaining. And
Yeah.
one of the biggest reasons was because of Liv Morgan. I She looked as good as she has ever looked in the ring. She's getting better as she's going on. She's not plateauing. She's finding new ways to be a heel and to do heel things, like you said, without being the women's champion. I am so happy that everybody who's been watching us knows my biggest fear for Liv Morgan when she lost on that Raw premiere on Netflix is that she was going to get lost in the shuffle because she's been so good and had such a big 2024 that I'm so happy that that didn't happen and they had a story going forward for her and they're letting her lead in a lot of these big matches. Um, just some of the things like you touched on it, the hair whip that she takes from Bianca Belair was crazy. That
Nuts.
was crazy to take. Like it sounded good, and then once you see her on the ground and you see that she's cut open on the side, and then they show that replay, and I'm like telling my wife because she was like, "Wow, that was loud," and I was like, "Ooh, no, 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 come back! You got to see." She took it hard when they show that replay. Now that you know where you're looking, she gets every piece of that, and it looked good. It made her look tough. Liv Morgan came out of this match looking better than she ever has. When you go back to Survivor Series, where we talked about you had her team lose and they had the champions on their team and it made them look very weak. She
Yep.
looked, she came out of this looking great.
What a great.
Um, when you say her roll up on Alexa Bliss, another moment where I went, she's doing heel things that are awesome. It was
Yep.
perfectly set up with those three. Whoever came up with this idea, my hat's off to you because I haven't seen it before. You can tell me if you have. When she rolls up Alexa Bliss and she grabs Bianca Belair's hair and uses it as leverage, awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if that
Absolutely
was even,
awesome.
dude, I don't even know if that was intentional, but I hope it was because, and even if it wasn't,
Yeah,
looked so cool. And
it
then the reason
did.
I don't think it was intentional, broadcast really didn't make a point of talking about it.
No, and the camera wasn't in that position for that move either. They
Yeah,
had to show us a replay later.
yeah, but what, dude? I mean, what a great like. I don't if it's intentional, not intentional. Like it was still so cool because like that's what it looked like. I noticed that and tried to point it out. I was like, man, it looks like she uses Bianca's hair.
Yeah,
Like, and she might have the coolest code breaker of all time. Like the way she uses it sometimes. I know Raquel will sometimes lift someone up and she'll do the double knees code
yeah,
break. Wow. She'll whip it out and you have no idea that's what she's going for. Dude, what a cool way to upgrade your arsenal. That's the like biggest thing I have for her. Her wrestling bag is so much deeper than it once was. Like when she had her first title run, when she was with wrestling Ronda Rousey, our favorite wrestler. Um, she wasn't great. And I was like, what do they see in her? To take that and then realize like, hey, there's people saying this about me, and then get 100 times better in the ring. She does deserve all these flowers and all these accolades she's
yeah,
getting.
100%. I mean, even later in the match when it's down to her and Bianca Belair towards the end, Liv is usually kind of a defensive wrestler because she's a heel.
Yeah,
Um, when she was taking the offense to Bianca, it looked good. She was doing good stuff, and those two together really work well
great
together. When
chemistry.
she was doing the spot with Bianca's hair again, where she was using the ropes kind of as a catapult, and she was just bouncing her back and forth off of the chamber while holding on to her hair. It looked good. Bianca sells it right. Um, and the fact that Bianca Belair goes over in this match, I think it's totally deserved because she's a constant, solid performer who you can trust in big spots. She can sell. She can do the offensive things you need her to do to look powerful. And I also think, like we just said a little bit ago, I think she's turning heel because we know Rhea Ripley's not getting turned heel because she's over like Rover as a face.
Yeah.
But I think even in this match, like that hair whip that she did to Liv, this is one of those things that if Jesse Ventura was on commentary, he would point out she just used her hair. She can't do that. That's not all right to do that. It's a heel move. You can't do that. Like that's a heel move
Yeah.
to use your hair as a weapon. I get there's no disqualifications in this match, but those are those little heel tendencies that I think going forward you come back and you notice. I give the women's chamber an A. It was awesome. I don't know
Yeah.
what you got anything else to add, but it was awesome.
I give it an A. It was great. What a great match. To
Yeah,
kick off the pay-per-view. And Rhea and Bianca is going to be an amazing match at WrestleMania. It is about time we got Bianca out of the tag division. It felt
yeah,
pointless after a while. It really did. She is a main eventer. She's a future Hall of Famer, and she is a GOAT in the making in the women's division. So it is about time she got the tag division, trying to help Jade Cargill out. And hopefully she's at a point in her career where Jade is ready to, she learned all this stuff and she's ready to go on a singles run of her own.
yeah. You have the potential if Alexa Bliss joins Wyatt Six. Now you could have her and Nikki Cross join up. Now they're in the tag
I like
division.
that.
You have Liv and Raquel. You still have Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. I don't know if that tag team is going to go forward, but I don't think it's out of the question that they could go forward as a tag team together, especially after our next match.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, as you mentioned, our next match is Nia Jax and Candice LeRae versus Trish Stratus and Tiffany Stratton, our women's champion. And I don't have a whole lot on this match. It was a match on a great
Mm-hmm.
pay-per-view, and it was a filler, and no one looked particularly great. This wasn't Tiffany's best work. This wasn't Nia's best work. This was not Candice's best work. And Trish Stratus did not. I mean, when she went out last time and had her matches with Becky, I was like, oh, she was, that steel cage match, dude. I gave that an A. Like, what a great
Yeah.
match. I really enjoyed that. This not so much. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I don't have very many comments on this one either. I kind of figured you wouldn't. I mean, the most that I can say is that Trish Stratus, I feel like she did a pretty good job. It was a totally decent, entertaining match. It wasn't anything that you couldn't have seen on SmackDown.
I
It
agree.
didn't feel like a pay-per-view match, but the best I can say for it is that it had a job of putting Tiffany Stratton over, and I think it did do that. It made Tiffany look good. She always looks good, but this puts her in a position where she's getting a little rub off of Trish Stratus that, because as we talked about a podcast ago or so, she's turning more and more babyface now going forward with her and Charlotte. And I think this match was just setting that up. I think this was just to kind of solidify her into the role that she's in and make her look good in the process and get her a
Yep.
big win. And that's what they did. So, I give it a C plus. I think they had, an objective that they needed to get to. They accomplished that. Tiffany Stratton looked good. And but there wasn't anything special. Like I said, this is a weekly television match that got onto a pay per view,
Yeah,
but that's
somehow.
okay. That's all
Yeah,
right.
I had a C for it, and that's
Okay.
not too far from what you had. I wasn't. It was there, and it was okay. It was setting up. just getting the fans ready for
Yeah.
our next match, which is, I
Whoa, whoa,
mean,
whoa, 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 Will. Before our next match, there was something else that we saw.
what
We
do we
saw a
see?
video package with The Rock taking us through The Rock's uh, being on the board and
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah, The
Yeah,
Rock
okay.
rubbing elbows with the owner of TKO, and
Yeah,
we got to
he's the
see
final
all of
boss.
yeah. I only bring it up because, as we've been saying, everything's a work till it's not. It's all part of the story. This is part of the story for this particular pay-per-view going forward. This isn't just there to stroke The Rock's ego. This is there because it's telling us, which we keep talking about this, The Rock's character is getting more and more defined now. That
Yeah,
this final boss is a mix of the real life Dwayne Johnson, the Rock wrestler, and the final boss character. It is a caricature of what we all see Dwayne the Rock Johnson as. And it's brilliant. And this little video package was there to basically exemplify that. He's all of those things. He's a member of the board. He's a huge celebrity. He's the number one person on the internet and on social media, the highest paid actor. He's a wrestler who, is Hall of Fame bound, and he's this many time champion, and he's the final boss. He's all one uber crazy, maybe super dark psychopathic heel. And this video package was there just to remind us of that. It was well placed, and I totally got it. And for everybody who looked at it and was like, oh, great, more of The Rock, it's all on purpose. You're supposed to be saying that. You're supposed to be seeing that and thinking how pretentious him having that video package was for his own ego, all on purpose. And it's brilliant.
yeah, man. Everything is just it's all bleeding together for him. Even the press conference after, like that was Dwayne Johnson, but that
Mm-hmm.
is like that's still the final boss up there. Like
Yes.
he was answering his questions super calm, and he wasn't like trying to be super aggressive like he was in the ring, but like it is the same person. It's the same dude that was taking shots at tequila and getting into
Yep.
his raptor with Cody Rhodes. It's the same dude that was down at NXT that was rambling for 30 minutes. They are all the same person. Well, Brian, our next match after that segment, which I think is a really good catch, to be quite honest, because I was just about to skip over it. Like, it is all intentional.
Yeah.
So good catch on that.
Thanks,
This
buddy.
might be my match of the year, though. This
I,
match,
I I knew it would be for you. I was thinking of you during this one.
and all of it is because like I grew up on these guys when we used to watch ROH. Me, my dad, my brother Henry. Um, these El Generico and Kevin Steen was our stuff, man. Um, so imagine Sami Zayn in a luchador mask and Kevin Owens a little bigger than he is now, and they were package pile driver through ladders, and this just brought me back. I was a kid again. And watching Cena and Punk out there too, I mean, it really made me feel like I was like 10 years old again, which why my pops is letting me watch Kevin Steen versus El Generico in a in a death match when I'm 10. Who knows? But it made me the
Because he
wrestling.
knew you could handle it, Will.
Yeah, he knew I could handle it. He knew it'd make me the wrestling podcaster I am today. So
He looked at little big boss man and said, "This ain't hard times. Little
no,
big boss man can handle
no.
it."
Um but man, this match, it was everything it needed to be. When the bell rang, straight hands flying. It was a fight from the beginning. I saw some people online that didn't necessarily like the lighting during the match.
Hmm.
It went with an NXT Underground kind of look with
I dug it.
yeah, me too. I thought it took me a second. At first I was like, man, I don't know, but then I kind of as the match settled in, it made more sense. the way, I mean, there's just so many cool spots. The backdrop off the top rope through two tables, very
Yes.
well done. Um, Tons of chair shots, and all of them felt so personal. Um, at one point when they're brawling on the outside and Kevin's bringing Sammy back into the ring, he gets the ring bell and like he has it like this and he hits him and Sammy's supposed to get his hand up to block and he doesn't and he just domes
He
Sammy with
did.
the ring
Yep.
bell and they were doing headshots. I mean,
It's been a while for that too. Like
it's
that's
been
something
a
that we don't
while.
always see anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pay-per-view for that.
Yeah.
Like it's stuff we haven't seen in a
Yep.
long
It felt so
time.
attitude era this match.
Yeah. And it's funny you bring that up. The way Kevin just lost it after um he couldn't pin Sammy, so he gives the referee a stunner and then another
Awesome.
stunner. It was
Awesome.
so Austin like. It was so Austin like. And the chair with the, I mean, I don't know, that did not look like super real barbed wire, but it was just still to see something like that in 2025 when that's very ECW or that's
Yeah.
very Attitude Era. It it was so refreshing. There was suplexes through chairs, like when Sammy hit the Tiger suplex into the corner and then flipped him around and hit him through a chair and Kevin took it on his shoulder. I mean, these dudes, if you look at all these
Yeah.
spots, they don't mess it up because they've wrestled so many times together that these big spots are just night and day for them. Um, and for the match to end with a callback to NXT Black and Gold with the pop-up powerbomb onto the apron, the same way when Sami Zayn won his first NXT championship versus Shinsuke Nakamura. The pop-up powerbomb onto the apron, rolls them in, 1, 2, 3, and it's my sister noticed it too, which maybe me giving her a shout out on the pod, she'll watch this one, drop a like for once. Um, the she noticed she was like, "Well, aren't Sam?" Because she watched a little bit. It was always on. She watched a
Yeah.
bit when we grew up. She was like, "Well, aren't Sammy and Kevin from Canada?" And I was like, "Yeah, they worked like the whole Canadian wrestling scene together. They haven't done the Rogers Center together though, and that is the biggest stadium in Canada." And she was like, "Wow, that is awesome." And I was like, "Yeah, it is. It is so cool." So for them to be able to accomplish it together and it be such a amazing match, A+ for me. I thought it was amazing.
You know, I have it as an A+ too. I don't even got to get to the end of the match to talk about it. That this is an A+. I was not looking forward to this match. Like this one had me worried because
Yeah.
of it's it's unsanctioned and the very melodramatic that it's an unsanctioned match.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do you make this feel different than just having a hardcore match? I lived through the Attitude Era where we had hardcore matches every Monday night and guys were just going through the ringer. So I'm like, how do you make this one feel different? For you, it automatically does because you have all that history with those guys. And I've gone back and I've watched a lot of that El Generico stuff. It's awesome. Like these
Yeah.
guys are awesome. And Kevin Owens showed again why he is so darn good. Like he is really, really good. And I said it at um, Royal Rumble with uh, the match he had with Cody that Kevin Owens is like the perfect version of Mick Foley. If Mick Foley is the prototype who just has reckless abandon for himself,
Yeah.
but makes it look so amazing because of that, Kevin Owens is the version 2.0 of that, where he doesn't have that same reckless abandon. It's more controlled, but that's not a bad thing. He's
Yeah.
able to have, I don't want to say perfected because nobody's perfect except for Kurt Hennig, who's simply perfect. Um, he's taken that Mick Foley thing and he's taken it to a whole new level. And this is another example of that. Even Sammy in this match, I've talked about how Sammy has been getting on my nerves a little bit with his aw shucks. I'm the little engine that could. I can't do things. You know, my poor neck hurts. Like the Sammy's been getting on my nerves, but he sold me in this one. I was
Mhm.
all for Sammy in this. He did a great job. I think those two working together really helps that because they have that familiarity and they work great together. So even Sammy won me over in this one. So that's a big kudo to him. Um, for the barbed wire chair, that was kind of funny because my wife's like, "Oh wow, is that real barbed wire on the chair?" I said, "30 years ago, yes. Today,
Hey, no.
not so much. It's gimmicked, but it still looked good." I thought that that was still awesome by having that little bit in there with the barbed wire chair. Um, all of those things. So doing all the tables, doing all the chair shots, doing the head shots, doing the things that are a little bit more violent that we don't see so much anymore as we used to back in, the late 90s and early 2000s, along with the referee spots that they did where the referee, Kevin Owens, like you said, he's just angry. So then he gives a stunner to the ref. Those are those little things that made it feel different. That made it
Yeah.
feel like, okay, this is not a sanctioned match. So it's a little bit different. They sold me on that idea. I was skeptical of it on how you can make it work and not be silly, but these guys did it and it was a great ending. It'll be interesting to see where Sammy goes from here with this match because that's not the headline. Once again, poor Randy Orton, every time he wants to come back, he's never the bride. He's always the bridesmaid, it feels like, when we have these big returns.
Yeah.
Randy Orton is back, Will.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. I think we all kind of knew it was gonna happen, but it was kind of like, when is it gonna happen? Good timing here, right before WrestleMania. You got your feud. It's gonna be Kevin and Randy. It's weird they already did an unsanctioned match. I think this match needs a stipulation going into
Yeah.
Mania. Can't just be one on one. Kevin literally tried to end Randy's career in storyline. So I'm gonna need something. I'm gonna need maybe like a steel cage match, which you don't see a lot of, or like a Hell in a Cell, something to spice this one up for me a little bit. In
Hell in a Cell,
terms,
book it. Go book
yeah,
it for WrestleMania. They're gonna have a Hell in a Cell. Like that is crazy. Like now you want to talk about a big WrestleMania? I'll watch Randy Orton and Kevin Owens in Hell in a Cell. I just talked about Mick Foley. Book that, Will. Get on the
yeah,
phone and book that right now. I'm so down for that.
that's that's what I want to see more than anything because Kevin Owens in a Hell in a Cell match
Yeah.
is just money. I mean, that's the type of extreme I'd be expecting in a match with them. Interesting note, Randy went for the punt. It looks like Triple H is kind of just loosening up on these moves.
Yeah.
More trust in the superstars to execute them.
Yep.
Um, package pile drivers. Pile drivers are back. Um, and then you got the punt coming back. Last punt to Vince McMahon. Gave him a concussion and he ended it right there. No more punt kicks. Um, it's cool to see stuff like that, and I know Penta's rolling out the Canadian Destroyer, or well, the Mexican Destroyer is what they call him, but he's rolling out what is the Canadian Destroyer. So all these moves coming back, thumbs up. This match, huge thumbs up. Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens in any type of match, thumbs up for me. Um, I know Sammy and Karrion Cross have kind of been,
They have.
having backstage segments here and there.
Yep.
Um, if they can build it up correctly, it could be good. But Karrion Cross has never really done it to me, and it sucks. I want to like Karrion Cross, but he just, I don't know, bland. And his group is gone now. Paul Ellering got released, and AOP again for like the third time has been released. Let's just not bring them back anymore. Probably is a good idea.
I have you just saying that with Karrion Cross, it act like that's actually taking me back to if anybody goes back, you know, like I like to do. Ultimate Warrior was having a feud with somebody, but he needed to be able to go a little bit darker and a little bit deeper. And he wound up getting involved with Jake the Snake Roberts. And Jake the Snake was going to be his mentor and he was going to teach him what he needs to know, but never trust the snake. And he gets Warrior, and then those two work a program together. And this is kind of giving me that kind of vibe where
Yeah,
Karrion Cross, which could be cool for him too, if you can take his character mid Carter as it is to another level of something
agreed.
by injecting Sami Zayn in it. The last note that I have on this match is a Randy Orton note. I thought Randy Orton looked good. My favorite part is when he has the chair and then he throws it out of the ring instead of hitting Kevin Owens in the noggin
Mm,
with it.
like
And
it.
I loved that. You know, I love that kind of stuff because it tells you so much in that moment that Randy Orton is not the same as Kevin Owens. Randy Orton may be a lot of things, and he may be all for himself sometimes, and he may be the Viper, but he's not at the same place mentally as Kevin Owens is. And that was great for this story going forward, that
Yeah,
we can see that there's a little bit of hesitation on Randy Orton, and that's going to be important going forward, I think.
yeah, absolutely. Brian, how about you take us into our next match, which closes out our show,
Boy,
our last wrestling match?
men's chamber, you got Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, Damian Priest, Logan Paul, John Cena, and CM Punk. John Cena comes out on top. I'm sure a lot of people had him picked as their winner. Um, there was a lot of good work in this match. I think Damian Priest showed me more than what I thought he could do. I'll be darned if he didn't inject a little something on Friday night. I thought his promo that he cut on Friday night helped him
Yeah,
immensely, a lot.
yeah.
Do you remember when we were going back on overrated, underrated? We talked about Damian Priest, and you changed my mind. I
Mhm.
had him as overrated, and you totally walked me back, and I reversed it. And you were saying how if we can get to more of that, like more of that edgy Damian Priest, more of the real Damian Priest, that guy who came from hard
Yeah,
times, really lean into that edge that he has. It felt more like that on Friday when he was cutting that promo. That felt like Damian Priest cutting a promo, not Damian Priest from Judgment Day cutting a promo. And
absolutely.
he looked good in this match, and I was happy to see that. That made me feel really good. Um, I thought Logan Paul, hats off to Logan Paul. He knows how to be the heel character. When he
Yeah,
came
he
out
does.
with the stars and stripes, I was like, yes. I was clapping. It took me back to Shawn Michaels when he took the Canadian flag once on his way to the ring and was dancing with it and doing all manner of unmentionable in Canada to
Yeah,
go over as a heel. And I love that Logan Paul took a page out of that book just to get himself over even more. Like we call that cheap heat. Me and you always talk about that. If you want
such
cheap heat,
cheesy.
you could be Chelsea Green and come out and cut your promo on Friday while you're in Toronto. Cheap heat. And you can be Logan Paul coming out with the stars and stripes in Toronto. Cheap heat. And I love it. So I thought Logan Paul did actually a lot of good stuff in that match. CM Punk, awesome in
Awesome.
this match. And everybody in there was telling a story. Everybody's character was very well defined. And you can see that throughout the whole match. Everybody worked super well together. There was little side stories going on within the match. And then when we get down to our final three, business really picks up. You have Cena and Punk baby facing it up hard when it's those
Yeah,
two
they were.
with a hug and a handshake and like, well, by golly, we're gonna have to do this. May the best man win. Um, I love that the second go round with that when Cena puts his hand out, Punk uses it as an opportunity to take advantage with his, which is classic Punk. He already did the nice guy thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
times enough.
um, Also, I just want to point out that there was a lot of good teamwork between CM Punk and John Cena in this match. It was kind of wild to see that.
Yeah, that was funny.
Um, it, I don't know if there's anything there. I don't even want to speculate on that.
No.
But there was such a part of me that was just going, please, please, please don't let this be an even bigger swerve than what we get. I looked at my wife and I was like, man, I swear if Punk is a corporate stooge, just like Cena turns out to be, and all of this was just a ruse with those two and the hugging and doing all that stuff. Um, they're not. I don't think they're going that way. But boy, was I scared though, because I'm like anything can happen. Um, but we eventually get that ending that it's down to Punk and Cena. Seth Rollins gets eliminated after a great double team by Invisible Go to Sleep. I don't know what you would call their tag team. Uh,
I like it, man.
I don't even know what it would be. It would be like the GTS with like a hand waving in front of it. I don't even know what they would do. But uh, on the way out, Seth Rollins does a curb stomp to CM Punk. John Cena takes total advantage, which again, everybody, if you haven't been paying attention to what John Cena's doing, he didn't show up on Friday night to come see the fans at SmackDown. He was put into the Elimination Chamber because it's best for business. And now he just did the heelyish thing. Heelyish, that's not a word. You know what? It is now. From now on WWR, heelyish is a word. He does the most
Helium. I like it.
heelyish thing that he could do, takes advantage of the curb stomp, gets Punk. Oh, my favorite part with the over the top baby face has to yell, "I'm sorry," before he puts the submission move on, just to let everybody know. See what a good baby face he is. He knows that this is taking advantage, but he's sorry. He has to do it all so he can win Elimination Chamber. Will, what else do you have for this match? It almost seems superfluous, us even
Um,
talking about the match.
yeah, I'll give you a few different perspectives. Damien Priest is great in the ring, on the mic. He just needs to make these fans feel something.
Yeah,
If he goes out there one more time and it is just crickets, like he's not gonna get these high spots on the card.
yeah,
Um, because that crowd was loud for everyone but him. Disappointing that that happens, but you gotta do something. I think Friday was a good start on the mic.
yeah.
And in the ring, dude, when he was paying a little homage to Taker, and he was going old
Yes,
school into the Hurricane Rana, dude.
awesome.
This big man bag he has is deep. I like
Mm-hmm.
it. Him and Drew are two of my favorite big man wrestlers to watch in WWE. Because they're just uber athletic. Um, I saw a lot of people online. Well, there wasn't a lot of extreme work. It wasn't high flying. It wasn't, like super brutal. Well, most of these guys in this match are pushing 40 years old.
Thank
Fun
you.
fact, Logan Paul and Seth Rollins are the only dudes not over the age of 40. And one of them jumped off the top of the chamber. You can't have it both ways, wrestling
Yep.
fans. You can't have a star studded chamber, the most loaded chamber of all time, and also have guys getting speared through pods and guys jumping off the top of the cage like they're Montez Ford. So
Yeah.
it's just not happening. Um, I think it is interesting with Seth Rollins and his position. Um, you think it's CM Punk he stomped out, and that's the match they're going with. Well, he also stomped out Roman and put him out for 2 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
All that to me is still leading towards that triple threat match we all don't want. But it's interesting. There's a bunch of different ways you can go with this. On our John Cena video talking about the segment at the end of this all. We talk about a few different things that could happen out of that. with CM Punk cashing in the favor
Yeah.
and still being able to fight Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. But like, how do we insert Roman in all of this? Well, Seth is still the catalyst of the reason why both of them have had severe losses. Roman's been out for like a month and some change now. CM Punk loses the chamber. Um, it's just interesting because to me, Seth still does need to be a part of both of their storylines. How we get there, I don't have the answers. Like we said on our other podcast, we are the Otis and Tozawa of trying to
Yeah.
do things. Um, so I don't have anything quite yet on that. But
The only thing that I can think with that, now that you're saying that, with Roman and Seth, is I go, man, we've been doing long term storytelling
mm,
that all of this could be building up for a Seth Roman next year's Mania. Like just adding more and more to that story that they already have, going back to the Shield stuff, going back to last year's Mania.
yeah,
Um, Now you have the Royal Rumble. Like, I think going forward, you can have Roman and Seth being involved with each other, but still building that to something even bigger for next year down the road at Mania. Like that kind of stuff doesn't surprise me anymore, where it didn't seem important at the time, or it seemed uber important, but it's all for something later. So there could be something there.
yeah, guys, look at Brian just did it again. He talked me off of another triple threat match. It happens at least once an episode, guys. Um,
And everybody who goes back and listens to our John Cena heel turn video, I become Mr. Triple Threat match. So it is, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's the problem. You look at a card, like when was the last time we had like a triple threat match, like for real? And then we're sitting here and we have like four going into WrestleMania,
Yeah,
and it's like, what are we doing? But that's a good idea. Sometimes when we watch this stuff, we want the instant payout or think
yeah,
about the instant payout, and then it's a payout um a year down the line or 20 years down the line. Just a little preview
that's
to our John Cena podcast. Um, John versus Cody at WrestleMania is my biggest takeaway. A match that is once in a lifetime with these two. And I'm not talking about John versus Stardust back in 2015 on an episode of Monday Night Raw. No, I'm talking about the American Nightmare
yeah,
versus this version of John Cena. This is something to get excited for. Where the rest of these guys fall into line, who knows? Um Seth and CM Punk think stay at the front of the main event, kind of on the back side of this. Damian Priest rolls up Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre comes back, hits him with a Claymore. Logan Paul eliminates Damian Priest. I think it's Priest and McIntyre, and if they keep putting on promos like they did on Friday versus each other, that's going to be a match to get excited for.
yeah.
To be quite honest, and that's something I thought was beneath Drew McIntyre. And but if Priest, sometimes when it's beneath someone, it brings that person that's beneath you, and they elevate their game, and then they shock you, and you all of a sudden get a really good WrestleMania match. The
That's,
interesting
you
guy,
said that so well, Will. You're so
yeah,
right.
the interesting guy is Logan Paul. Um,
Whew,
yeah, it's
boy.
hard to think of someone for him.
I
You got
mean,
ideas?
I feel like they've just been toying around a lot of things. You have AJ Styles,
Yeah,
um, you have Braun Breaker. You have a lot of different ways that you could go. I could see him and LA Knight if LA
oh,
Knight can get on top of Shinsuke. I think, let's not forget he was already US champion once.
yeah,
So I think you could have a great match between him and LA Knight. The promos would be fire. People would be, is there any more heelish person. Don't say Dom. We all know Dom is number one heel. Logan Paul is right up there with just super overheat for
Yeah.
being a heel. And LA Knight is one of the most over guys with the crowd for his mic work, for his catchphrases, for all of that stuff. And he can work in the ring. I feel like that might be a match right there. That might be, you know what? Book it. Let's book it.
You want to
LA
book it?
Knight, Logan Paul, US Championship at Mania.
Yeah, and that also comes back to our long-term storytelling we're talking about. I mean, they already had their match at SummerSlam for the title. Why not run it back? I mean, if they both have nothing to do,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, stuff happens in people's career, but Shinsuke Nakamura, is that the guy you want representing the US title at WrestleMania? Probably not. Why not put it
yeah,
on a guy like Logan Paul and have him versus LA Knight? I know we've seen it before,
yeah,
but or you could do like Logan Paul, Jimmy Uso if you want to have that moment still with both of them winning the title. I think that's something I'm more,
yeah,
you know, kind of in love with that idea of them both winning the title on the same night and having that brother brother moment. But who knows? I think Logan Paul, there's plenty of places. And of course, if you can get the Bad Bunny match, that is what you go for.
yeah,
That's just who's the best celebrity wrestler, and there is no storyline needed. It would just be a phenomenal match because Bad Bunny's last match versus Damian Priest was one of my favorite matches, you know, in the last couple of years. So whole lot to look forward to going into WrestleMania, and I know we're getting towards the end of the pod here, and if you want to hear our thoughts on the John Cena heel turn, spoiler alert, my bad guys. I'm sure you've seen it already. No, I
everybody's
mean it's
seen
the
it.
most viewed thing on Instagram right
Yeah,
now.
you can't avoid it.
Yeah, over 1 million likes on Instagram, and that's just on the post where The Rock hits the one
Yeah,
of those, and Cena gives that look of absolute heelish work,
yeah, Healy-ish.
heelish work, and you know, so it's impossible to avoid. But I highly recommend. It's one of some of me and Brian's best work. Go check out that podcast, and we are on the road to WrestleMania, guys. And there is not a better time to follow us because we got a bunch of content coming out on here on the TikTok, and we're recording
Right.
the list, and that is us just giving you a little top five, top 10 list. And you also get to hear Chris Jericho say before everyone, "You just
Yeah.
made the list," and
You
that's
just
just
made the
gold.
list.
Who
Yeah.
doesn't love Chris Jericho's list gimmick? So,
I
whole lot
barely
to look
know it
forward
and
to.
I love it.
Yep, no, like it was some of my favorite stuff growing up. We would just go around the house saying, "You just made the list," It was just peak wrestling for me as a kid, but whole lot to look forward to on this road to WrestleMania here at WWR.
Will, I asked you on our last podcast at the end when we talked about the John Cena heel turn. I asked you what would have happened if Cody said yes. And we kind of decided that The Rock always knew that was never a real option. He knew Cody
Hmm.
would never turn and sell his soul. So I have a question for the end of this one.
Sure.
What would have happened if John Cena didn't win the Elimination Chamber? And kayfabe now, John Cena wins the Elimination Chamber. The Rock put him into the Elimination Chamber. There was no guarantee that he would come out and win that. So what would the plan have been if somehow CM Punk would have won?
Well, we're talking about a corporate group right now. Who was out there that planted the attack on CM Punk? Seth Rollins. Now I've seen that floating around online. I'm
Okay.
not taking credit for all of that
Okay.
exact
Okay.
because what if John Cena didn't win? Well, Seth Rollins was out there to make sure that would never happen. And that's
Oh
why
man.
you have the new authority, John Cena, The Rock, maybe a Seth Rollins, maybe a
Oh.
Drew McIntyre. Oh, and of course, Travis Scott, you know.
Oh my God. Will, this this actually, I kind of love this because this actually goes with what my idea was for WrestleMania to get CM Punk in that triple threat match. Yeah, the triple threat match, guys. Um, I had said in our last podcast that what if he cashes in his favor with Paul Heyman because CM Punk wants to be in the main event of WrestleMania. So Paul Heyman gets The Rock and says, hey, Rock, what can I do? I need to cash in this favor. And they come up with Roman versus Rock night one. If Roman wins, CM Punk gets to be in the triple threat match on night two. If The Rock wins, Roman has to simply acknowledge him. But you would still have CM Punk have his match on night one against Seth Rollins. This actually makes that even better. If Seth Rollins is part of this corporation with The Rock, he's one of the final boss's stooges. It makes that even make more sense that he has a job on night one, not just to win his match, but The Rock would also want Seth Rollins to make sure CM Punk isn't going to make it to that triple threat match if Roman somehow could find a way to beat the final boss. I actually think Seth Rollins being in cahoots with The Rock actually helps that story. Wow, I like that a lot.
I mean, that's the only reason I could, that's the only thing I could think of,
Yeah,
honestly. But sometimes in wrestling, Brian, you just gotta expand your imagination and like maybe The Rock would have came out and gave CM Punk the rock bottom or
yeah,
t told the ref that he'd be fired if he counted the three.
yeah.
Who knows?
It's
Um,
it's just one of those things that
yeah, no,
again
it's
is
like
what makes wrestling so great and so silly. It's
yeah.
like you can't lose a championship on a count out or disqualification. Well, I don't see a big incentive for the champion to ever get a clean win. That's just how we do things
No,
in
no,
wrestling. That's
I
just how we
agree
have to do it.
100%.
You know, it's just fun. I'm just trying to have a little bit of fun because it's kind of hilarious.
No, there's a ton of that stuff in wrestling. But yeah, I mean, it is going to be an interesting road to
Yeah.
WrestleMania. Brian, you got anything else for him?
Uh, No, just if you guys are into the paranormal stuff, if you came over from the Realm Paranormal podcast, or especially if you didn't, head over on YouTube, go to the Realm Paranormal podcast. We just had our big 4 hour live paranormal investigation of Ross Castle in Ireland. The gang is over there. It was a lot of fun. You can watch the replay on YouTube. I think it's worth taking a look. It's our first time kind of doing that. You guys get a real in-depth look during the investigation at the castle, and we have some pretty interesting stuff that happens uh, during this live event with our investigation. So go over to the Realm Paranormal podcast and check it out.
Yeah, one more quick note. I said the list is coming out on our TikTok. So same thing here, WWR podcast on TikTok. Go give it a follow. Lots of exclusive stuff that's not going to be on the YouTube channel. It's just going to be on our YouTube shorts and our TikTok.
Yeah,
So whole lot to look forward to there. Um, Brian, take us away.
yeah. I think that's it for us today. So everybody, thanks for tuning in to the WWR podcast. I'm Brian. He's Will. We'll catch you next time. Peace out. Oh. Will, I forgot to mention when I was giving some love to the commentators, there's a spot in the KO Sami Zayn match where Sami hits Kevin Owens in the head with a garbage can lid, and Pat McAfee says, he just hit him in the head with Dominic Mysterio. And Wade Barrett says, totally unnecessary, but very funny. And I was like, amazing. That was so good. That's awesome.
Commentary on point last night, man.
It doesn't get better than that.
This is absolutely nuts. Who would have thought? Heel
Did you have to
John
talk
Cena.
Will off the ledge?
Oh my gosh, it was bad. It
He,
was bad.
he said he tore his shirt off and threw it.
At one point, he was shirtless in the kitchen. That was a real thing.
Oh,
We gotta put this in as the blooper, Brian, because it was so bad.
Oh my
Henry,
gosh.
tell them who
What?
you thought was gonna win the women's chamber.
Oh my gosh. So here's what I thought was gonna happen. I was like, every time before a match, we do our pre-game predictions on who we think's gonna win.
uh-huh.
And so I was like, oh, I think Naomi's gonna win. And then after the match, look at that reaction. And then I was like,
WrestleMania worthy. This we can throw this in at the end because I think Dominic Mysterio is gonna fight Pat McAfee at WrestleMania.
Oh, that'd be good.